If South Africans really wanted the land, we'd start by looking at who actually holds it now. Let's take stock. One government audit found white farmers owning 72% of all agricultural land, even though white people are only about 7 to 8% of the population. By contrast, black South Africans, which are nearly 80% of the population, own only about 4%. This is not a small gap. It's a massive legacy of apartheid and colonial laws. Even journalists have pointed out that roughly three quarters of privately held land, around 26 million hectares, still sits in white hands. If most of the country's productive land is owned by a handful of wealthy farmers, millions were left out. So, if ordinary citizens are serious about fair land ownership, they will use the tools at hand, including the new expropriation law. In January 2025, Cyril Ramaphosa signed an expropriation act updating the rules for taking land for public use. Empty land benefits nobody if it isn't farmed or developed. If we look at history, it becomes clear how that gap happened. Under apartheid, black South Africans were forced into tiny reserves. A 1913 law gave most farmland to white settlers and only about 13% to black people. And later, apartheid uprooted 3.5 million black farmers from their land. Democracy arrived, promising change, and restitution laws were passed, but decades later, the imbalance still remains. Analysts still say land ownership continues to favor the country's diminishing white population. In practice, most big farms stayed in privileged hands, while millions of black families got none. Reform created a few new elites, but did little for the poor majority. If we're serious about equality, our constitution now gives us a tool to rebalance. That means expropriation without compensation, taking unused, unjustly held land for public use under the strict rules that are already in place. As a local official put it this year, if the land was acquired through apartheid systems, why should the government pay for that land? It comes down to who this country is even supposed to serve. The small class that still owns the big estates, or everyone else who has been waiting decades for a fair share.